Tony Bellew knocks out BJ Flores in the third round. Then after the fight proceeds to go crazy, starts screaming at David Haye, jumps into the crowd like a WWE wrestler and has to be restrained by his team. It was all very theatrical. But as far as the fight itself, I actually felt that BJ Flores won the first round. I thought he was looking sharper than Tony Bellew, and he was looking a bit better technically than Bellew. I thought he won the first round. I thought he was better on the outside. And I thought he won the first half of the second round as well, up until the knockdown. And the knockdown, for some, may be controversial. Tony Bellew hit BJ Flores low, and it was definitely a low blow. Flores then proceeded to complain to the referee, even though the referee hadn't called break or he hadn't called timeout. But Flores was looking at the ref, complaining to the ref for, 2-3 seconds? But because the ref hadn't called break or timeout, Bellew proceeded to attack him, as he should. And that attack resulted in BJ Flores hitting the canvas after getting hit with 2 headshots. Flores got up, he fought back. But after that point, he looked vulnerable. And he was, in the following rounds, he was bludgeoned to the floor a couple more times. And the final knockdown, which occurred in the third round, was from a left hook, which is Tony Bellew's signature shot, which was the best punch of the fight. BJ Flores went down. He has to be said, though, Flores never looked extremely hurt from any of the knockdowns, even the knockdown which finished him off. He got up at like the count of 9.5, maybe the count of 10, but the referee waved it off, and I've got no problem with the referee waving it off where he did. But the point I'm making is, I don't know whether Flores was that badly hurt, to be honest. He was hurt, but I think he could have got up, basically. That's the point I'm making. So I'm wondering about BJ Flores' heart. And that's something that Tony Bellew questioned before the fight. Does this guy really have the heart? And I'm wondering about that. I certainly don't think he has the heart or the physical or mental toughness that Tony Bellew has. I think we can all agree on that, regardless if we disagree on everything else. And one thing I have to say as well, just in the interest of fairness, is that a few of the shots and a couple of the knockdowns did seem to be from shots that were maybe on the back of the head from Bellew. So some people may complain about that. Some people may complain about the low blow in the second round. But here's the thing. Even if that low blow hadn't occurred when it did, and I do think that BJ Flores was getting the better of things when that low blow did occur, given how easily BJ Flores crumbled when he did start getting hit, surely it was only a matter of time, even if he didn't get dropped in that second round. Surely it was just a matter of time before Bellew got hold of him and dealt with him. Because Flores just crumbled way too easily for my liking. You know, his biggest opportunity, getting a world title, maybe his final opportunity, he really needed to show some warrior spirit in there. And I guess he did get up from knockdowns and what have you, but that final knockdown, I just feel like he could have got up sooner, you know? And if you really, really want it, that's what you do. And again, this is the kind of stuff Bellew was talking about before the fight. Anyway, as far as the fight itself, it was what it was. I think Bellew's going to have problems with the likes of Maris Briedis, because Briedis is younger and much better than the likes of BJ Flores, hits harder as well. So I think he's going to have issues with him. We don't know when that fight's going to take place, whether it's going to be before or after a potential David Haye fight. So we'll see how that goes. I also think several other people in the cruiserweight division would beat Bellew. And I'm not trying to diss Bellew here. I'm just giving my honest opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll go in there and prove me wrong and beat those guys. And remember, I gave Bellew a very good chance of beating Makabu. I wasn't one of these people who was so high on Makabu saying, oh my gosh, Makabu's going to batter Tony Bellew. No, I was saying this is actually a 50-50 fight and Bellew can definitely win this fight. So when it comes to these other fighters out there like Usyk and Lebedev and Maris Briedis, so on and so forth, I don't really see Tony Bellew beating these guys. You know, I think maybe he might have the best chance against Lebedev because Lebedev is kind of short. But the other guys, man, and I'm not even saying I would pick him to beat Lebedev either, but I'm just saying he may have the best chance against Lebedev, even though Lebedev is a very good fighter. Anyway, the bit that you're most interested in is obviously the altercation with David Haye after the fight. Tony Bellew was a very emotional very naturally aggressive character. That's just how he is. He's always aggressive in fighting situations. And it really wasn't any surprise to me the way he started shouting at David Haye, WWE style, pointing at him, Apollo Creed style, even though he's, what was his name in Creed? I don't even know. I ain't seen the movie actually, but yeah. He was pointing at David Haye, shouting this, that, and the other. I don't know what he was saying really. And David Haye was just standing there smiling. And obviously Eddie Hearn was smiling because he's got pound signs in his eyes. Cha-ching. He can't wait to get that fight on. I think that some people are going to say that this post-fight antics or these post-fight antics were kind of staged, or maybe somebody put Tony Bellew up to it. I don't think anybody needs to put Tony Bellew up to it. He is experienced as a professional. He knows what is needed in order to sell a fight. And I'm not saying he did deliberately crank up the theatrics to try and sell a fight, but it's possible. He knows what he needs to do. I don't think he needs Eddie Hearn whispering in his ear or anything like that. I think he can sell a fight naturally. And some people are going to say, well, look, he's been in Creed as an actor, so he was using some of his acting skills to go a little bit overboard against David Haye in the post-fight verbal exchange. Perhaps, who knows, man. It looks at the moment likely that the fight will happen. Somebody who was at the fight last night messaged me privately and they told me that they spoke to Adam Smith and a couple of other people at the fight there, and the indication that this person has given me is that the fight is already done. David Haye versus Tony Bellew. It's a done deal. So if it is a done deal, then I guess the WBC must have given their consent to allow Bellew to step up to heavyweight, because that's where the fight is going to be. Not at cruiserweight, it's going to be at heavyweight, according to what we know at the moment, and fight David Haye, and then maybe fight his mandatory challenger Maris Breedis afterwards. How do I see the Haye Bellew fight going? I think the longer the fight goes, the better it would be for Bellew. In the early going, Bellew would be in grave danger. Not only because David Haye is a tremendous puncher, and fighting at heavyweight I think favors Haye, even though what Bellew said after the fight is actually true, that they are really the same size, but David Haye pumps a hell of a lot of weights. That's why he bulks himself up. So, that is what that is. But still, I think early on in the fight, David Haye is going to be lethal. And Bellew is really going to have to concentrate on defense early on, or he could get knocked out very quickly indeed. David Haye is very sharp early, very powerful, and he's got much longer arms than Tony Bellew. He can also, as Dwyer likes to say, hit you from halfway across the ring. He has that long-range power. Whereas Tony Bellew, I think, has to get a bit closer to deliver his power shots. So in the early going, I think there's a very, very good chance that Bellew gets knocked out. But as the fight progresses, if Bellew's still in there and he's still fresh enough, I think he might be able to cause David Haye some problems the longer the fight goes. And you never know, maybe cause an upset. We don't know what David Haye's going to be like in the later rounds. He never had great stamina, even early on in his career. And I know some of his fans like to talk about the fact that he went 12 rounds with Bellew. Yeah, anybody can go 12 rounds if they're throwing 5 punches around. You could bring a fat guy from the pub, put him in the ring, and make him only throw 5 punches around. He can go 12 rounds. So, yeah, David Haye's never had good stamina. And at the age that he's at now, what's his stamina going to be like now? He had the long layoff after the Chisora fight. He's come back and he's fought a couple of pies, as Shannon Briggs would say. So, I don't know. In the late rounds, in the mid to late rounds, Bellew might actually have a chance of beating David Haye. But he's got to get past the early rounds first. And that is no mean feat, believe you me. David Haye is looking extremely sharp. I saw him on the pads in a video recently on Seconds Out and also IFL. And he is looking lethal on the pads. Very sharp. And I've noticed that under Shane McGuigan, he's been working on his left hook. I noticed this a few months ago, actually, in a different public workout, and I did make a video about it at the time. He's looking much better with his left hook. They've definitely tweaked his technique on that left hook since leaving Adam Booth. And he's also altered his stance a little bit. His feet don't seem to be quite so wide apart, at least not in the training footage that I've been watching. His feet are not quite as wide apart, and he's squaring his shoulders up a little bit more, and that's to help him crank on that left hook. but it also might make him more vulnerable defensively. We'll have to wait and see. But I do notice that he's adjusted his stance in this training footage that I've been watching, and some people might not pick up on it. Some people are going to look at it and say, it's the same stance he's always had, Hatman. Well, you obviously don't notice the subtleties that I notice, because I'm noticing that David Haye has altered his stance, and he's throwing his left hook with different technique than he used to. Better technique, actually, now. So, yeah, he looks very sharp, very fast, very powerful, and he's going to be lethal against Bellew early. Can Bellew survive into the later rounds, and does he have a chance? You answer those questions in the comment section below, because I'm very interested to know what you guys think. And also let me know what you think about Bellew's performance against BJ Flores. Do you agree with me that Flores was getting the better of it for the first round or so? Maybe you think that Bellew had it all under control from the beginning. What did you think about the low blow? Do you think that was a pivotal moment in the fight? Do you think that BJ Flores is maybe lacking a little bit in the heart department, as I do? Or, you know, however you feel, drop it in the comments. And also let me know what you think about Bellew against the other top cruiserweights, including his mandatory challenger, Maris Breedis. Drop it all in the comment section below. It's your boy Hatman, I'm out.